Elephant Man Podcast Network, grown man conversations dealing with elephants in the room. It's your man DB, Moray DB. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you can know when new material is coming out. What's going on, family? Shalom, shalom. Elephant Man Podcast on IG, Elephant Man _podcast on Facebook /Elephant Man Podcast. That channel is growing, and Facebook and on YouTube. So blessings to all. Blessings, pre-recorded message. Hopefully you all are blessed and highly favored, clothing in your right mind. Share with somebody. Like, subscribe, share. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Elephant Man Podcast Network. Go ahead and subscribe. All right. So I want to just talk about this town in South Africa, semi-old news, but it's interesting to me, man. I cannot believe it. I guess it's okay. You guys let me know what you think, but I'm going to share this information about a town called Orania. I'm not even pronouncing it right. Let's just get right to the video so we can see what's going on with it. Check this out.
It's been 3 decades since South Africa abolished apartheid, a system of racially segregating black people from white people. The country got rid of it in the 1990s, but the spirit of apartheid is still alive in some places. One of them is Orania, a remote town in the country's north, often called the last outpost of apartheid. Why? Because Orania is a whites-only town. Black people cannot live or work here. Every job is reserved for the whites. Every task performed by white people. And yet the residents of this town insist they're not racist. Here's a report.
Welcome to Orania, a remote farming town in South Africa's Northern Cape. It prints its own money, runs its own banks, has its own holidays, and manages its own affairs. Sounds like the perfect township to relocate, right? Well, hold your horses. To enter Orania, you have to qualify on certain parameters. The foremost is the color of your skin. It has to be white, because Orania is a whites-only town. The uniqueness is too obvious to ignore. Wherever you go in this township, you will only find Afrikaners. White people with Dutch ancestry. They do all the work, from playing the piano at the church to reading out the Bible to believers, to running the kitchen at a restaurant, to even gardening at orchards. All jobs, big or small, are reserved for white people. But the residents of this town insist that they're not racist.
We are from Africa. That's why we call ourselves Afrikaners. We want to remain here. We also want to retain our identity. Now, to retain one's identity is not a racist impulse. We wanted to retain our identity against the English or the British imperialism also, and they're even whiter than we are, much whiter.
Orania is often dubbed as the last outpost of apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation. South Africa abolished apartheid in the 1990s, but the legacy lives on in Orania. In fact, the township was founded by the son-in-law of Hendrik Verwoerd, South Africa's former prime minister, who's considered to be the architect of apartheid. Verwoerd's bust lies at the museum in this township, serving as a reminder of his beliefs. As for Nelson Mandela, the man credited with ending apartheid, the people of Orania don't really hold him in high regard.
I don't think that I can see him as a hero because he's part of a whole package. Mandela is part of a whole package. And as Mandela, all the other leaders within the ANC make a contribution to create some policy that is, from our viewpoint, not necessarily for the best of this country.
Mandela is not a hero, they say, And they're not racist, they insist. So what is this town all about? An attempt to protect their culture. This township is legal as per South Africa's constitution. An article defends its right to self-determination. But Orania's ambitions could soon spell trouble, because the people here say their next goal is the creation of an Afrikaner republic, a white-only autonomous region within South Africa. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
All right, so let me pause
Let
that
this
one
sweet mineral melt in your mouth.
and go to this second video before I comment on that. So it's almost the same. Some of the footage is the same, but they got it from a different spin on this French channel. Check it out.
And it is 27 years since the abolition of apartheid in South Africa. And yet even today, there still exist communities of whites who refuse to mix with blacks. It is the case in the small city of Orania. There, the only language spoken is Afrikaans, the tongue of the first Dutch settlers. In Oriana's schools, students are taught a revisited version of history. And while many residents settled here to avoid any sort of ethnic diversity, while others appear to have fled the violence and new racial tensions of present-day South Africa.
An air of nostalgia looms over this small town of central South Africa. Here, most residents are Christian and everyone speaks Afrikaans. Today, 1,500 people live in this Afrikaner-only town. It even has its own currency and its own flag. Founded after the collapse of apartheid 27 years ago, figureheads of the racist regime are part of Orania's scenery.
Orania is an Afrikaner settlement where we can create our own future, be self-sufficient. And now in the new South Africa, we have a black majority that's also not always very kind to the Afrikaners, especially. So the idea was to have a place where we stay out of this.
An enclave for Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers. Farmer Anton Enslin moved to Orania 5 years ago and says he was evicted from his previous home. When his land was claimed by black South Africans, he accepted compensation from the government.
Soon as the land claim was published, the intimidation started. My father gave me the advice and said, Anton, let us sell the farm because we have to let go some of the land. We can't keep the whole South Africa for us. But now, all of us here is feeling safe. We are happy.
Anton might be happy, but he isn't reassured. He's concerned that he could be evicted again. The government plans to accelerate redistribution of land to black South Africans by expropriating white farmers. This time, there will be no compensation. Orania's residents are fearful their heritage could slowly disappear.
Jy moet my nou so 'n bietjie wys wat jy besig is om te doen en sê as ek jou kan help met iets, wys my watter.
In this school, the students have two different syllabuses, the state's official program and Orania's version.
It is geography and history in one book from the viewpoint of the new regime, which is also subjective. This is more from our viewpoint, so they can compare the two and they can make their own opinion.
The town's syllabus makes no mention of Nelson Mandela, who they say isn't part of their history, a stronghold for Afrikaner culture. A group of workers who stopped by at this supermarket saw the town for the first time.
I think it's not a problem they are living alone, but we also feel like we have to live with them because we are all human beings.
No, it's actually sad for me to see a place like this. It's very small and live alone.
So is this the refuge for nostalgics of apartheid or the reflection of an unease among certain Afrikaners today? This couple is considering moving here and the town is providing them with a house for a week before they take a final decision.
25 jaar gedoen. Ja. En ja, dit is al 28 jaar wat ek daar gebly het. En maar dinge raak maar net moeiliker vir ons in die sin van om werk te kry en
The local council has offered to assist Leonardo with setting up his electrical company. He says that the laws aiming to increase black employment have turned against white South Africans.
Where I'm staying is, to get work is so hard. And I think it's mainly because of my skin color.
It's getting worse and worse. I mean, like 15 years back, I went to the shop, I walked, I did what I want. Now I don't go alone anymore.
Last year, there were 57 murders in South Africa every day, a number that has been on the rise for the past 6 years. And meanwhile, Oranye's population grew by 10%.
A special focus report today from South Africa. I'll be back in an hour's time, but Will.
All right. Interesting stuff, right? Very, very interesting stuff. An all-white town in Africa. An all-white town on the continent. Who else can get away with that anywhere else on the planet? I'm serious. Could we go to Europe and have an all-black town? Our currency, we get us a flag, we get all of that. Could we do that? Actually, there are some places that is all black or all white in the world, but they're not like all black, you can't come here, all white, you can't come here. It just so happened that it's certain cities in Europe that there's no blacks that tour there or live there. And so it just happened to be all white. But blacks could move there if they so please. And same thing with a majority of a lot of chocolate cities, all black, but a white person could move there. Oranje. After they speak Afrikaners, white Dutch. They read the Bible. Now, this is one thing that's real funny. They read the Bible. They go to church. They read the Bible. Who are they talking to? Who are they reading to? If Yahusha has woolly hair and brown skin, his people is not welcome there. He's not welcome there. Yahusha is not welcome in Oranje, if you think about it. The made-up one, the Caesar Borgia one, and I hate to put it like that, but it is what it is. If Yahusha is bronze skin, solid stone colored with woolly hair, he is not welcome in Oranje. So I don't know what they're doing when they go to church. I don't know. Now, this is another thing that's very, very interesting. They want to preserve heritage and identity. And that's funny because the same flip, when it's flipped, we have been programmed to say our identity is in Christ, right? When we say that we are Israel by blood, then we get this whole spiel. Don't get too beside yourself. You putting natural heritage over being spiritual and being within Yahushua. No, we know what some of us do, right? We know that we need the blood of Yahushua, but that does not cancel out who we are. That does not cancel out who we are. We are, so, it don't matter. He came to save souls, not color. They play the game back and forth, right? You got some folk that can identify as whatever. I want to identify as a baby crocodile tomorrow. No, you're a black man. Put your hands on the car. You could in the alphabet community, you can identify as anything you want to. Anything you want to. And I know this is a hard one, and I know I'm gonna get some emails, but I'm just saying that's interesting. Very, very interesting, right? They want to claim a white-only republic. More towns like that, a white-only republic on the continent. On the continent. This place, this world system is crazy. How? Mandela is not a hero. That's cool. That's fair. That's subjective because some people don't like Mandela. They think he You know, I feel that. Okay, some people don't feel Mandela, right? And land claimed by Black South Africans. They doing some different things where they're gonna have some land claimed by Black South Africans, and they're like, man, I fear that you know I'm gonna be ousted from my land. Man, they reversed it. I can't go into African towns because of the color of my skin. I don't know. It's possible, but I don't know if somebody of Dutch or somebody white going to an African town. Now you may get robbed because if you got some bread or you got a watch or you got a chain or something, and they down bad, you might get robbed, but they not shooting at you and killing you. I don't think because of the color of your skin. I don't think we make a big deal out of that like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to show they got a flag. Very interesting, man. Very, very interesting. Let's see. There you go. That's the flag. Somebody rolling up his sleeve. They got a flag. And it's very interesting, man. What y'all think about that? What y'all think about that? That's wild. I'm going to read a little bit about it, then we're going to get out of here. All right, so we said, and they said that the population, it is growing. Like it is taking off. So the population in 2019 was 1,773 people. It climbed 55%, 2021 to 2,500 people and growing, right? So that's very, very interesting. The town was founded with the goal of creating a stronghold for the Afrikaner minority group. And that is kind of wild that these people are the minority on the continent. The Afrikaans language and the Afrikaner culture, through the creation of a white Afrikaner known as Volstaat, was a Dutch language. Although Orania is in accordance with South Africa's constitution, has no formal law banning black visitors, and practicing only Afrikaner residents are permitted. Black people nearby fear they will be met with violence if they go visit. Well, you just don't go visit. You know, it's all over again, all white town, but this time they're the minority. It's unreal. This place is crazy. So they practice Afrikaner Calvinism, right? But they say that the town's economic focus is around self-sufficiency and based on agriculture, notably the pecan nuts. That's what he was cutting down when he was with them chainsaws. The poverty rate is estimated at 70 to 80%. Afrikaner Calvinism, it is an important aspect of local culture. And while the South African government has stated that it has opposed the idea of whites-only community, it generally ignored the town. They print their own money and maintain the last transitional representative council of South Africa, but receive no local and national funding. Right? So it's a segregationist town philosophy. So that's very interesting, man. Very, 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 very interesting. And they're trying to get a republic. They're trying to get more towns like that on the continent. I think that's the biggest thing to me. That's amazing. They just carved Africa up so bad. So bad. A whole bunch of resources and wealth and diamonds and cobalt and all kind of stuff there. Right? And you can't get a bag of rice and gold all underneath your feet. Cats come on the continent. We want an all-white town. Why? Why can't you go to like Dutch? And I say I'm not a separatist at all. But my question is like, why come to the continent and do that? It's better to go to a remote island somewhere and do that, or go back to find a little spot in Europe and do that. Be like, this whites only. All right, I'll make sure if I'm driving, I drive around it or drive through it. No biggie. The racism and the hate, and it's all that's not racist based off racism. Come on, man. It's wild. It's wild, and it's just too much. Elephant Man Podcast Network, Grown Man Conversation, Dylan Evans in the room. I'm out.
Perfect.